Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you.
And deliver our children from a future of fear.
And signs from the heavens, the first in a rare series of 4 so-called blood moons. Gets ready to grace the night sky soon, but is it more than just
the
a
blood
lunar
moon
show?
is a rare celestial event, yet for the third time in less than a year, the moon will dip behind the Earth's shadow, appearing a deep coppery red for a few minutes. And this will transform the skies over North America, Asia, and Australia into a deep red color.
Opening doorway. They basically want the keys.
The portals to heaven, right?
They want the keys to the gateways.
They call them brain worlds. So this would be a membrane that we're on. There's another membrane, which is entirely another three-dimensional universe apart from ours. But gravity communicates between them. That's why they're using gravitons as the method of detection.
You know, they were building this tower into heaven. And like you said, Pastor, what a ridiculous thought to think that they could actually build a tower that would reach to the outer realms of our universe, that where we may refer to as where heaven lies. Wouldn't it just make more sense if there was some type of gateway that led into heaven that even Genesis 28 speaks of, where Jacob had a vision, the stairway into heaven, and he proclaimed that area after his experience of that supernatural realm as the gateway unto heaven.
The government of India actually gave that as a gift to CERN because they already were working with CERN. But what's inscribed on the plaque beneath it is equally important, where it is called, "Oh, omnipresent." This is the replacement of Jehovah.
Oh, there is no other God.
Well, they think there is, and they're trying to contact it.
Now, the crazy thing is this. Could they have possibly gotten to heaven in the Tower of Babel? Would they have if God wouldn't have destroyed them? And I would say, with an emphatic answer, yes, they would have. And we can learn this from Genesis chapter 11, and it says this. It says, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heaven, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we'll be scattered over the whole face of the earth." But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. And the Lord said this. Are you ready for this? "If as one people speaking the same language they've begun to do this, and nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them."
If that prophecy is true, and there are many, many highly placed rabbis that revere the Zohar, and they study it. So if somebody revealed himself to these priests in Israel, maybe that's why all of a sudden the altar has just been built and dedicated for the sacrifices. There's a new call for the building of a third temple. Even members of the Knesset now are talking about returning prayers to the Temple Mount and the possibility of building a temple. I think some highly placed people in Jerusalem think that their man is here. They say in 2012 the Messiah will make himself secretly known to the rabbis in Israel that are watching for him, and then over a period of a few years he's going to start making himself known to all of the world.
It appeared just before 6 o'clock this morning.
That's a UFO, I'm telling you.
A spiral in the sky around a bright light. Richardson saw it move from west to east, disappearing into the sunrise.
It was actually rotating and throwing off a vapor, glowing vapor, in a spiral that was getting bigger.
to be back.
Olympic torch relay is underway, but it got off to a bit of a shaky start. The torch was lit in Olympia, Greece, but then a gust of wind came along and blew out the iconic flame.
Agli uomini e alle donne mafiosi. Per favore, cambiate di vita. Convertitevi, fermatevi di fare il male. Che noi preghiamo per voi, convertitevi. Lo chiedo in ginocchio, è per il vostro bene. Questa vita che vivete adesso non ci darà piacere, non ci darà gioia, non vi darà felicità. Il potere, il denaro che voi avete adesso da tanti affari sporchi, da tanti crimini mafiosi, il denaro insanguinato e potere insanguinato, e non potrai portarlo all'altra vita. Convertitevi, ancora è tempo per non finire nell'inferno.
So you've been doing some spiritual searching.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Kabbalah.
Kabbalah, sorry.
Yeah. Well, Kabbalah if you're Israeli.
all of you know it, on the edge of a climatic abyss. In fact, we have 500 days to avoid a climate chaos. In fact, we have 500 days to avoid a climate chaos.
Terrorism, instability, inequality, disease. There's one issue that will define the contours of this century more dramatically than any other, and that is the urgent and growing threat of a changing climate. Terrorism, instability, inequality, disease. There's one issue that will define the contours of this century more dramatically than any other.
In fact, we have 500 days to avoid a climate chaos. We have 500 days to avoid a climate chaos. In fact, we have 500 days to avoid a climate chaos. In fact, we have 500 days to avoid a climate chaos. In fact, we have 500 days to avoid a climate chaos.
Terrorism, instability, inequality, disease. There's one issue that will define the contours of this century more dramatically than any other.
In fact, we have 500 days to avoid a climate chaos. We have 500 days to avoid a climate chaos. In fact, we have 500 days to avoid a climate chaos.
Tonight, investigators are trying to solve a bizarre mystery in
See, we got my rabbit standing up. Check them out. That's scary shit. Holy.
Some strange noises heard around the world the last few weeks has people buzzing, especially on YouTube. Clips posted from Arizona to England and right next door in Manitoba, all showing folks alarmed by what sounds like a noise straight out of a science fiction flick.
Tonight, investigators are trying to solve a bizarre mystery in
There's a giant asteroid flying towards Earth. Detected by a Russian robotic telescope, it's one of the largest and most dangerous space rocks approaching our planet's orbit.
19 kilometers a second exploded in the skies above Russia.
A massive space rock hurtling toward Earth.
There's very little any of us can do about it. The planet Earth is preparing nonetheless for the closest encounter we've had in a long while with a foreign object, a giant asteroid that is going to pass very close to our planet.
I've warned that if we don't turn back to God, there is going to be the crown that America has worn as the head of nations is going to be removed. We are seeing the beginning of that right now. And so we are watching, actually, when the same week that the Shemitah began, Wall Street went crazy for about a month.
And do this, understanding the present time. The hour has already come for you to wake up from your slumber, because our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed. The night is nearly over. The day is almost here. So let us put aside the deeds of darkness and put on the armor of light. Let us behave decently as in the daytime, not in carousing and drunkenness, not in sexual immorality and debauchery, not in dissension and jealousy. Rather, clothe yourselves with the Lord Jesus Christ, and do not think about how to gratify the desires of the flesh.
We hear a lot of talk of CERN, portals, and asteroids lately. This is a trinity of sorts, as these are all one thing. CERN is creating a portal in space. In anticipation for this event, they are creating rumors of an asteroid strike, when really they are not sure of the implications when CERN removes the veil between above and below, what might come out of that portal. Either way, the ancient machine is spinning a portal above in order to traverse the great heavens beyond. Apollyon the Destroyer, the beast, is soon to be released. Some say CERN is the ancient key to the bottomless pit. The archons were said to have come down and tempted mankind into a false reality. We are now in 2015 in the pinnacle of this false reality. Now the Illuminati, a group that has infiltrated every occult group, secret society, church, state, and local government to bring the masses back under bloodline rule, is gearing up their new world government plans to re-establish the world under the elite bloodlines who worship the archons. These things are the testers of men, the demons you feel in the night. The bloodlines use the knowledge of the archons to ensnare mankind into the cube. The third eye, the pineal gland, is now binded within the tesseract, thus the man in the image with the tesseract cube on the third eye or pineal gland / acorn. CERN is thinning the veil between the Earth and the ocean above. When diving the deepest depths in the ocean, scientists discovered a lake at the bottom of a trench deep under the ocean. The implications of this lake under the ocean suggest that the elites of the world know something we do not. Many people believe that we never really went to the moon. Could it be that we discovered we could not traverse the realms beyond our planet? Could the density of the vast universe prevent anyone from escaping planet Earth? A space shuttle moving at the speeds they suggest would hit a brick wall and be destroyed when they impacted the space ocean above. As above, so below, ocean to ocean, sea to shining sea. Could CERN be used to spin up a cosmic water spout so mankind can finally traverse this plane of existence? Some ask if the Earth is really round. If our consciousness molds our reality, then we could live on a flat plane and perceive a round sphere. What you are born under stunts your full perception.
Over half a mile down, at the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico, they came across what appeared to be an underwater lake, over 20 meters long, with its own sandy shore. Around its edge, there even seemed to be a tide line. But this couldn't be, of course. This was underwater.
Satan is making plans to rule the world. Kind of like Pinky and the Brain, you know. God's up in heaven laughing about it.
Whoever has ears, let them hear what the Spirit says to the churches. To the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, these are the words of him who is holy and true, who holds the key of David. What he opens, no one can shut, and what he shuts, no one can open. I know your deeds. See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. I know that you have little strength, yet you have kept my word and have not denied my name. I will make those who are of the synagogue of Satan, who claim to be Jews, though they are not, but are liars, I will make them come and fall down at your feet and acknowledge that I have loved you. Since you have kept my command to endure patiently, I will also keep you from the hour of trial that is going to come on the whole world to test the inhabitants of the earth. I am coming soon. Hold on to what you have, so that no one will take your crown. The one who is victorious, I will make a pillar in the temple of my God. Never again will they leave it. I will write on them the name of my God and the name of the city of my God, the New Jerusalem, which is coming down out of heaven from my God, and I will also write on them my new name. Whoever has ears, let them hear what the Spirit says to the churches. Revelation 7. After this I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding back the 4 winds of the earth, to prevent any wind from blowing on the land or on the sea or on any tree. Then I saw another angel coming up from the east, having the seal of the living God. He called out in a loud voice to the 4 angels who had been given power to harm the land and the sea, do not harm the land or the sea or the trees until we put a seal on the foreheads of the servants of our God. Then I heard the number of those who were sealed, 144,000 from all the tribes of Israel. Revelation 13. The dragon stood on the shore of the sea, and I saw a beast coming out of the sea. It had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on its horns, and on each head a blasphemous name. The beast I saw resembled a leopard, but had feet like those of a bear and a mouth like that of a lion. The dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority. One of the heads of the beast seemed to have had a fatal wound, but the fatal wound had been healed. The whole world was filled with wonder and followed the beast. People worshipped the dragon because he had given authority to the beast, and they also worshipped the beast and asked, who is like the beast? Who can wage war against it? The beast was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemies and to exercise its authority for 42 months. It opened its mouth to blaspheme God, and to slander his name and his dwelling place, and those who live in heaven.
What if they are wrong and this ancient machine called CERN holds the number of the beast 666? What if this ancient machine is the catalyst for the apocalypse? What if the biblical beast of Revelation is in this ocean above, which is exactly what biblical prophesy says? What if CERN is the dragon that creates a fiery portal in the sky that unleashes the biblical beast of the sea? The beast of the land would be earth, and the beast of the sea would be the heavens in this case.
Spiraling white light was seen for several minutes on Wednesday morning.
To the war in Afghanistan. Keep it here as our special coverage of Inauguration Weekend continues.
What is that? What?
And signs from the heavens, the first in a rare series of 4 so-called blood moons. Gets ready to grace the night sky soon, but is it more than just a lunar show?
This phenomenon of 4 consecutive blood moons coinciding with Jewish feast days has only occurred 10 times since 1 AD and only 3 times since 1492 AD. The 3 times since 1492 are as follows: Tetrad of 1493 to 1494, Tetrad of 1949 to 1950, Tetrad of 1967 to 1968. Biblical scripture telling about future wonders in the heavens and on earth. Acts 2:20, the sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before that great and notable day of the Lord come. Revelation 6:12 to 14, and I beheld when he had opened the 6th seal, and, lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. Joel 2:31, the sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the great and the terrible day of the Lord come. Matthew 24:29, immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Joel 2:30, and I will shew wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood, and fire, and pillars of smoke. Revelation 3:10, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world, to try them that dwell upon the earth. Romans 10:9, that if thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Lord Jesus, and shalt believe in thine heart that God hath raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved.
And signs from the heavens, the first in a rare series of 4 so-called blood moons. Gets ready to grace the night sky soon, but is it more than just a lunar show? The first in a rare series of 4 so-called blood moons. Gets ready to grace the night sky soon, but is it more than just a lunar show?
fields have changed and technology has evolved, but our commitment to constitutional principles has weathered every
Mikey
war.
Hicks' family says he's been treated like a terror suspect every time he flies. The airlines say he's on a TSA watch list, even though Mikey is just 8 years old. Mikey thinks that I'm like some
A weapon with the ability to shoot down aircraft, manipulate nature, and control your mind.
The real innocent researcher or the person that wants to get at the truth, I mean, they need to go out and actually read for themselves. They need to look at the various websites and make up their own decision.
Jenkins, who seems to come out of nowhere, somehow have ties to the Department of Energy in Los Alamos too. Is there a group connection here?
It's a big club. You ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club.
Though their discovery posed a very clear challenge to the energy industry, it was the scientific community, mostly physicists, which raised the specter of doubt and
what
wrongdoing.
On 9/11 is anomalous. For one, there was, I believe, 50 times the normal tritium levels, small amount of anomalous heat effects, like cars exploding, but human bodies surrounding those cars not feeling burnt in any way, shape, or form. What on 9/11 is anomalous? For one, there was, I believe, 50 times the normal tritium levels, small amount of anomalous heat effects, like cars exploding, but human bodies surrounding those cars not feeling burnt in any way, shape, or form.
Studied it. I don't know. It's very confusing. I'm an architect, not a seismologist.
The size of the dust, it is not powderized. It's not ultrafine. It's not even fine. We don't have ultrafine powder.
We have desks and furniture and computers and human beings and other living things turned to particles, Steve.
Mid-July, the DOE panel had completed their damning report. Data affirming vital aspects of the discovery was published in reputable journals. But the presiding agenda of official science, the science of money and politics, drowned the truth in accusations of impropriety and outright
Exactly parallel to what happened to Michael Ziemer in 2006.
And you have to make that connection. It's like, you know, even though the details are obscured to us, it's like, how coincidental is it that it's the exact same situation?
I get the impression that an awful lot of those,
there
like
is
this
a
guy
connection.
Greg Jenkins, who seems to come out of nowhere, somehow have ties to the Department of Energy in Los Alamos too. Is there a group connection
Two
here?
distinguished chemists, Dr. Martin Fleischmann and Dr. Stanley Pons, announced to the amazement of the world that they had detected a nuclear-like reaction that could turn water into a powerful new...
A simple demonstration shows how HAARP can control and change the weather.
We're using about 100 watts in this little cloud chamber. HAARP uses a billion
Wicked
watts.
weather stretching across the country's midsection. Tonight, there are winter warnings in place in half a dozen states, from Nebraska to Michigan.
Weather and use it as a weapon of mass destruction.
160 antennas. Each can generate 10,000 watts. 3.6 million watts collectively.
Real innocent researcher or the person that wants to get at the truth, I mean, they need to go out and actually read for themselves. They need to look at the various websites and make up their own decision.
Who seems to come out of nowhere somehow have ties to the Department of Energy in Los Alamos too. Is there a group connection here?
It's a big club. You ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club.
Volcano we're watching, apparently. Meteorologist Ivan Cabrera is here to tell us about that. How many?
Well, we're watching 4, believe it or not.
All at Iceland.
Yeah, Japan just got involved. So we'll...
The largest legal AM radio station in the U.S. is only 50,000 watts. But they're not broadcasting out. They're broadcasting up.
When you look at the devastation in Haiti's capital city, there is no doubt that this was the big one. A quake so strong that just 10 minutes later, the seismic waves registered here in the Caltech lab in Pasadena, California, 3,009 miles away.
If you are in denial, get over it. Open up your eyes. Take a look around. How's the weather in your neck of the woods? Perhaps it's a little different than it's ever been for your locality. Try to find out what's really going on. You won't find out by watching hard copy, or even the evening news. You'll have to get away from the latest political scandal of who is sleeping with whom and dig just a little deeper to find the things of real importance. Did you know that tornadoes have been spotted, for the first time in history, that are spinning the wrong way? Did you know that there are places in Mexico where the ground temperature is heating up in excess of 200 degrees? Did you know that during a 7-day period in early June there were 772 earthquakes recorded on the California, Nevada border near Mammoth Lake? Did you know that on May 31st, the jet stream, an extremely fast wind current that flows through the upper atmosphere, touched ground for the first time in recorded history? Did you know that all over North America, migratory birds have stopped returning to their nesting grounds? And that salmon are no longer returning to their spawning grounds? And indigenous tribes throughout the world have stopped having children? Okay, so much for denial. Once you accept that change is happening, let go of fear. Realize that it is a time of change and not necessarily a time of fear. Fear clouds good judgment and put heavy blocks between the inner intuition, which will be so important during this time, and your conscious mind. The earth changing will not kill you, it changes all the time. But fear, denial, and not being open to your inner self and your intuition may.
A lot of people in parts of Asia and the western United States spent yesterday gazing at the heavens, and for good reason. A rare type of eclipse turned the sun into a ring of fire. Not block all of the sun. A tiny bit of light remained around the edges. The ring of fire.
A sinkhole estimated to be the size of 4 football fields opens up the ground in Ohio. The massive hole has eaten away at part of a state highway. It will have to be closed for months while engineers figure out how best to repair it.
Take a look at what experts are increasingly calling the so-called ring of fire that is circling the entire Pacific Ocean. Do you remember Chile's massive earthquake about a year ago? Then we had that big one in New Zealand just last month. Then, of course, Japan. And if this clockwise trend continues, my next guest says North America looks to be on tap next.
Yellowstone in northwest Wyoming, land of geysers, mountains, and lakes, is also sitting atop a super volcano. And it just took what scientists describe as a deep breath, causing miles of ground to rise dramatically.
When it blows, it could destroy the United States as we know it.